Okay, quick story. I recently did a Skype consultation with a guy who wanted more information about the behavior of his wife because he was confused by her actions. She seemed to be sending him mixed signals. In private, she would complain that he wasn't sensitive enough. He wasn't attentive to her needs or available with his emotions. Yet he noticed that when she was amongst friends, she would brag about him, about how strong he was and how assertive, how he wouldn't get bogged down with useless details. He would just take action. He was really confused by this inconsistency, and he wanted to know, what is it that she wants? Does she want him to be more feminine or more masculine? The truth is that she, like every other woman, wants both. Women are greedy. They want the masculine man when it suits them, and they want the feminine man when it suits them. The idea that she wants one, and then by definition she doesn't want the other, is a false dichotomy. It's like the idea that women either want a lover, this passionate, intense man with the good genes that she can pass on to her children, or she wants the loyal, dependable, stable man who's going to help raise those children. It's a false dichotomy. Obviously, she wants both. She wants the man who's exciting and gives her great sex and has the quality genetic material, but she also wants that exact same man to be stable and loyal and dependable. She wants to know that that man is going to stick around and be a loyal husband and a devoted father. She wants both. Women are probably too embarrassed to actually state this out loud, or perhaps they just lack the self-awareness. But let me tell you what every single woman wants. They want a man who is capable of being a strong, masculine leader, a man who can take action when necessary, make decisions, take responsibility, when she feels like sitting back and relaxing. This exact same man will step back and give her control in those instances where she wants to take the reins, and he'll do so without complaint. She wants a man who will be sensitive to her emotions and discuss her feelings with her. He will say and do all of the right things when she needs some care, she needs some nurturing. At the same time, this man isn't meant to overshare his feelings in case he comes across as weak or needy. What's more, she doesn't want to have to specify explicitly which version of him is meant to turn up in each situation. She wants him to just be a mind reader and know which is appropriate. He also needs to be completely flexible and be able to just switch between the two at a moment's notice according to her needs. That's what she wants in a man. And even though she won't admit it, that is what women are looking for. If it sounds hard, it's because it is. But do not be thinking that these expectations are unique to women. Men often expect their female partners to switch instantaneously from the nurturing mother figure to the submissive sex slave according to his needs without missing a beat. This desire for the complete package is not a desire that is unique to women. It's just a human desire. But men really struggle with this because to just switch between masculine and feminine and to flow between them is kind of antithetical to our logical way of thinking. It seems contradictory. And in this video, I'm going to explain why that isn't the case. First of all, this is really, really important. So let me just state it clearly from the outset. Even though women are looking for a man who's capable of both masculinity and femininity, the masculinity has to come first. In the natural stages of a relationship, the first part is to do with mystery and flirting and generating attraction. That part is all masculine, that part where you're dating and getting to know each other. At that stage, you basically only want to be showing your masculinity because that's what generates attraction. That's what demonstrates the quality of your biological genes. It's only in the later stages, when you're already in a relationship, that she wants to see more feminine sides of you. Then she wants to see those qualities that will reassure her that you're going to be a good father, that you're capable of listening and caring about other people and responding to their emotional needs. You need to demonstrate that you can be a positive and uplifting role model. And of course, while part of that is in your masculinity, the truth is that a good part of solid parenting as a father does come from your femininity. But you do need to be careful because women will not tolerate an overly feminine man, especially not in the early stages of a relationship. But a masculine man who occasionally displays some feminine traits is really attractive to women. You know, think about that husky, well-built fireman who's cuddling a small, cute puppy. Women absolutely love that stuff. They find it really sexy. But believe me when I say that even though it's the feminine behavior of cuddling the puppy that seems to be taking center stage, what makes it so endearing to women, what they find so adorable, is the fact that that feminine characteristic is in the context of this backdrop of huge masculinity. It's attractive because of the contrast. You know, you've got this highly masculine man who is demonstrating some feminine traits. But to see some weak feminine man lose control of his emotions over this puppy is not going to be sexually attractive to a woman because there's no masculinity. So your first priority as a man is your masculinity. That is absolutely non-negotiable. If you are only capable of developing one of these, either your masculinity or your femininity, 100% of the time choose your masculinity. But that's not the choice that you have. It's not one or the other. And after you have firmly established yourself in her mind as a masculine man, she will start to encourage you to express your femininity. Yes, at first she wants to see your masculinity. That's what's going to make her feel safe, like she can trust you, that she's protected. Because remember, from an evolutionary perspective, women were completely reliant on the men in their lives to provide for them and to protect them. But once you have established that bedrock of masculinity, then you will see the women in your lives try to encourage you to express your feminine side. And here's the mistake that so many men make. They don't realize that developing your femininity does not come at the cost of your masculinity. Masculinity and femininity are not in competition with each other. They complement each other. And as you deepen your relationship with one, it automatically deepens your relationship with the other. They actually define each other. We only know what masculinity is in contrast to femininity. It's just like you wouldn't know what the darkness is without light. You wouldn't know hot without cold. And so when you look inside and you deepen your own relationship with your own femininity, it has the effect of deepening your understanding of your masculinity as well. It's because you have now widened the spectrum, and in doing so have become a more dynamic person. It used to be that your range was here, the most masculine and the most feminine. It existed just there. But when you stretch it out like this, then you can have a deeper experience of both. So what does it look like to have a shallow experience inside this limited range? Well, imagine a woman and she's all about appearance. The absolute limit of her femininity is her sex appeal. And for her boyfriend, all he knows about masculinity is power and strength. So he's got big muscles, but nothing else. On a superficial level, it might look quite masculine, but a high quality woman is going to see how surface level that is. There's no depth to it. It's just a superficial facade. You often find the case with these overly macho guys is that their strength is a complete illusion. They're actually emotionally very fragile. The reason why they often act so needy and possessive and controlling is actually in part because they have not developed much of their femininity. They're not in touch with their own emotions, and so the slightest thing sets them off. It's a weird thing to see these tough, muscle-bound macho guys to cry and sob or throw temper tantrums, but some of the women in the audience will know that that's often what you get with these dudes. It's because there's no resilience, there's no emotional depth. They're highly strung and ready to snap. So you can think of masculine and feminine as opposites, and they are, but when you're talking about people, it's not a very useful categorization to say this person is masculine or this person is feminine. What's more revealing is to consider whether or not an individual person is deep or shallow. Does their inner spectrum of masculinity and femininity exist within a very narrow range or a very wide range? Personally, I only like to interact with those people who have some depth to them because I find the limited range people insufferably boring. And so you see that even if your ultimate goal is to develop your masculinity, can you appreciate that in developing your femininity, that's going to help you in that goal? Accessing your own femininity is going to give you insight into how women think, what they feel, what they prioritize. That is going to be invaluable when choosing how to express your masculinity because you know what it is that the feminine is looking for. You know that it wants strength, comfort, safety because you have felt inside yourself your own desire for those things. You know how to interact with women because you know what it is that they want. It might not seem like it, but actually watching this channel is deepening your relationship with your own femininity. That might sound strange to people. They're thinking, what are you talking about? This is a men's space. We're talking about how to develop our masculine. Well, that's true, but we also spend a lot of time talking about female psychology, what they think about, what they like, what they find attractive. We are trying to understand the feminine better because we know that's going to aid us in our path to our own masculinity. And at a certain point, you realize that it's all the same thing. To understand femininity is to understand masculinity, and you can't arbitrarily separate them. So if you are on this journey and you're doing it properly, then you are not exclusively developing your masculinity. What you're doing is deepening the spectrum inside yourself and becoming a more dynamic individual. So I understand that the idea that you need to be masculine for women and you also need to be feminine for women and you need to know which one is appropriate at any time, that sounds really, really difficult. It almost sounds unreasonable, like how can women have these expectations? What I can tell you is that as you deepen that spectrum inside yourself, it gets a lot easier. It's hard to know what somebody wants when there's zero shared experience between the two of you, when femininity seems like completely alien. But when you have accessed that part of yourself, you'll be able to pick up on her subtle social cues, her body language, her tone of voice a lot easier. Eventually, it will become natural. To be acting masculine or to be acting feminine is not going to feel like more or less of your actual identity. It's all going to be you, and you're going to have to flow between the two when appropriate, because that's just what you do as a great individual person. You respond to the needs of the moment. And so I want to leave you with this thought. To get in touch with your femininity does not make you less of a man. It makes you a more complex, more dynamic man. It gives you more depth and a deeper understanding of your masculinity. Is flirting natural? How do you go about making high-quality male friends? And is evolutionary psychology a full and complete science? All of these topics and many more are covered in exclusive videos available on my Patreon page, including my latest video, What to Do When a Woman Encourages You to Fight Other Men on Her Behalf. In this video, I talk about what your role is as a man to protect the women in your life. I talk about the best ways to avoid physical altercations with other men in terms of prevention, but also steps you can take in those situations to feel more comfortable using your body as a tool or a weapon. I also talk about the impact of a woman's attraction for you if you ever walk away from a fight or allow another man to attack her, as well as the appropriate response if a female partner ever encourages you to fight on her behalf. If you've ever been curious to know what the appropriate response is as a man when issues of physical violence come up, I highly encourage you to check out this video. For every video that I post here on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon page. That means that at the moment, you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you would like access to the other half, then please go and sign up at my Patreon page. It's just a $5 a month subscription, and you get instant access to a whole bunch of exclusive content. It's a wonderful way to support the channel, and I would love to see you over there.